All right, welcome back, everyone. That was an exciting match. It ended. I was actually behind Dream Deferred and heard them yell out for each of the kills, so that was exciting to stand behind them and listen for that. But we are going to be moving into our first lower bracket game. Let's take a look at Group A so we can see what teams are going to be facing off in this next match. Of course, it is going to be Hype versus FollowEsports.com because, of course, both Method and Tempo Storm won their game, so that's going to be an incredible match coming up pretty soon. But right now we are going to be doing Hype versus Follow Esports for Group A. And of course, with the winner of Hype and FollowEsports.com is going to be facing off against the loser of Method versus Tempo Storm, so they still have a chance at it.
Yeah, but Hype and Follow Esports are against the wall. If they lose it out, that's their last chance. Now moving towards Group B, we saw Juveniles take a commanding series against Luminosity, and Luminosity was considered one of the Titan teams in this tournament, so getting knocked down 2-0, not going to be feeling too good. And then we just saw Dream Deferred 2-0 Santos Dexterity, and like you said, we could hear the excitement just brimming through the door on the other side. Those guys were so pumped, and it's great to see just a playful attitude, keeping their level head in this tournament setting. But as I said, we're going to be moving into the lower part of Group A, which is going to be Follow Esports versus the Australian team Hype. Now, Follow Esports have locked in their composition. They are going to be leading with that jungle cleave. Jellybeans gets to make his debut, and we've got Hype's composition locked in. They're sticking to their guns, that turbo cleave dream that they want to live so desperately. And we're going to be jumping into that, which is a blind pick. They don't know what they're fighting up against here very shortly. Who do you predict is going to take this?
I got to give it to Follow Esports in this. I think that last match they played was so incredible. Even though they are swapping in Jellybeans and we haven't seen him play yet, I think both Walter Bear and Absturge were just doing a phenomenal job in that. And then now you can slide in that Hunter against, they know they're going to be facing against Turbo Cleave. So I'd have to give this series to Follow Esport if I had to pick right now.
Absturge and Walter have been playing excellently, and I'm sure that Jellybeans has been warming up as well. He's one of the most dynamic hunters in the North American scenes. You'll see him offensively deterrents, put traps almost always on the ground. He knows exactly where to place them. He basically never misses. You know, I'm talking him up a lot. He might let me down, but I don't think he will. And we're going to get to see those flashy hunter plays from Jellybeans, whereas the team of Hype are playing that Turbo Cleave, which is very standard. They're looking to extend the game as long as possible. But against a jungle cleave, they need to deal with the pressure that even Absturge as the healer can bring. He's going to be pushing forward. He's going to be looking for offensive purges. He's going to be grounding incoming CC from their Restoration Druid, the director, and keeping their momentum swinging. If they can keep that momentum in their favor against this Turbo Cleave, I can see them easily taking this series.
Yeah. All right, just to remind you guys of the rules, of course, we did make a change to the roster setup, and we are going to have a 4-man roster, which we're going to see with Jellybean in this matchup. So it's great to see the players swapping in. And of course, we're going to start every matchup on the Grand Arena with the double blind pick, which also just happened. So we are going to be having that Jungle Cleave versus a Turbo Cleave. And of course, once one team loses in the Grand Arena, they're going to be able to pick the map, followed by the team that won on the Grand Arena is going to select their comp, and it's no longer a blind pick anymore. So the winning team gets to pick their comp based on the map choice of the losing team, and then the losing team gets to pick their comp based on the winner's team. So a little bit of an advantage for the team that lost. But overall, I think we've seen that the map picks, minus maybe Dalaran Sewers, have been pretty neutral overall. You know, there hasn't been a big landslide match determined by what map it is. You know, we haven't seen Warlock teams pull out that Blade's Edge arena to give them a huge advantage, anything like that. So it's been pretty standard. You know, we've seen a very small pool of maps so far. So it's great to see that a lot of the teams feel that they can play well on any of these maps.
Yeah, and let's talk about the money here. These teams are against the wall. The losing team will have to sacrifice to 7th and 8th slot, which is a mere $2,000 when you compare that to the first place $50,000 prize. You want to stay in it to win it and to get your shot at that BlizzCon ticket. We also have second place at a big whopping $20,000. Third place is going to be $10,000. Fourth is $8,000, and fifth and sixth are $4,000. This game is going to decide our first 7th and 8th place team.
Yeah, and I know both of these teams want to fight their way back in, of course. Hype qualifying through the ANZ qualifier, which was an amazing series. It caught the finals of it when watching you guys cast it, so that was great that we determined one of our slots for our regionals based on those kind of tournaments. And of course, the Latin American team, which you guys just saw, Santos Dexterity, they qualified through the Latin American qualifier. So that was awesome that each region was able to put on their own little qualifier. And if you guys want to follow along at home for all of our social media stops for Blizzard and Warcraft specifically, you can go to Facebook/Warcraft. We can go to Twitter @Warcraft. Of course, YouTube @/Warcraft. And of course, you're watching right now on Twitch @/Warcraft. And of course, if you want to follow along with the conversation on social media, use the hashtag WoWEsports, and we've been showing some of your tweets on air so far.
Yeah, it's been a really awesome day throughout this tournament. And we do have a discount code as well to give to you. So if you're interested in buying any Blizzard-related gear, that code is going to be WOWRTB15, and that's going to give you a 10% discount on every purchase. So if you want to make a mass purchase of plushies, now is the time to do it. So definitely want to take advantage of that code. But I believe one of the teams is ready. We're still waiting for the other one. I expect that this Jungle Cleave is going to be bringing an aggressive start in this matchup. They can't afford to play defensively. If they start falling behind and allow this Turbo Cleave to get a good footing, they could easily go down. But we are going to take a second to look at the teams here, I believe, shortly.
Yeah, and we're going to take a look at FollowEsports. Of course, the team that was having some issues dealing with Tempo Storm, but they still played an incredible matchup. Very, very close to winning that. Ended up losing 2-1 against Tempo Storm, and now they're going to play against Hype. So these guys have to be confident coming into this match. Yeah, they really do. And we can see Jellybean's the closest player, Absterge the center player, and Walter Bear on the far side. They're going to be playing the Jungle Cleave, as it's known. So a Hunter, a Feral Druid, and a Restoration Shaman. And I like this. I think that the FLS might have been at a bit of a disadvantage against this composition, so they're using their fourth player to get a little bit of an edge. And they're going to be representing the United States. And then on the opposite side, representing Australia and New Zealand will be Hype here shortly, and they're going to be sticking to that Turbo Cleave composition, which, in my opinion, Jungle Cleave a little bit more of an edge against the Turbo Cleave, and I really don't think this Australian team, unless they've got some sort of wild card that I'm not expecting, maybe they're going to play Fury, some off-spec kind of situation, is going to have an easy time dealing with this. We can see Trip there on Death Knight. We also have Franklin on Warrior and the Director on Restoration Druid, and this team, once again, missing their fourth player, wasn't able to make it across the sea in time for the tournament, so they have to deal with that, and they've only got this three-player roster, and I would expect that Turbo Cleave is one of their only compositions that they can really access. I could see them playing it this entire series, whether they are winning or losing. It's just what they need to do to win. And of course, again, look at how confident Jellybeans looks. He was just saying in the interviews that he's the best hunter in the world, and that's why they're going to win. So he better prove it. Yeah, man, that's a big attitude to have. We've already jumped into the first game, and it starts on the Grand Arena every time. Australia versus the United States. Hype, they need to be in it to win it. This is a best of three. They're against the wall. If they lose this series, they will be eliminated, taking 7th/8th place here, and a mere $2,000 compared to the $50,000 first prize. So there's a lot on the line for them. They need to keep a level head. They do. And of course, Jellybean is going to be playing Survival. You definitely can swap in between BM and Survival right now. So it's interesting to see that that's his choice. He'll be able to set up that his damage is going to be throughout the whole game. It's not going to be these gigantic bursts of damage like you might see from a BM Hunter, but it's a nice and consistent, which is going to match really well with that Feral. Yeah, and the Survival Hunter has access to a lot of more root mechanics through Snake Trap, so he's going to be slowing these melee DPS down quite a lot, and these both players, Shaza and Franklin, need to stick on their target. We see Franklin charging onto Jellybeans, outputting some pressure so far. Jellybeans disengaging in, not going for any crowd control just yet, and they are going to be going after the Enhancement Shaman here down at 70%. The Director doing a good job keeping full hots up, but he goes into the full bash, into the full trap. Out of that, Murder of Crows is up. Shaza needs to respond to the damage. Nice Fear out from Franklin onto the DPS, but Walter is there with the backup Tremor Totem. Shaza down to 30%, holding onto his cooldowns for far too long. Has to use it down at 30%, has to overlap it with the Ascendance now, trying to counter pressure Walter, but instantly Absterge answers that with the Ascendance. His entire team is going to remain topped off for the duration of that, and Shaza traded his Ascendance defensively, which means he's not going to gain an advantage to do damage. And but that's what he needed to do, because Director was in that Cyclone, which was a great job by Walter Bear there. We see the Shockwave coming out, and here comes the damage. The Berserk, the Incarnation is popped with a trap onto the Director, who does have that Nature's Vigil up. But oh wow, look at the damage coming out with that Binding Stun. That was an incredible play by Jellybean.
That's it, man. They kept the momentum swinging. They stayed right on top of them, right on target, and did not miss a beat. FollowEsports are going to take #1 in a commanding fashion.
And that was by the book, like everything. They forced the Sham Rage, they forced the Ascendance, and then they just capitalized on it. Let's talk to Bajira and see what he thought about that first match.
All right, guys, once again, we see Jellybeans using that pure hunter skill to knock into a binding shot to both knock away the DPS and stun the healer there. That was beautiful. And I think that's why he likes to play survival, is he's trading a little bit of that burst damage for a lot more control from the roots and the shorter trap cooldown. So we're going to take a look at this final play here. Wallabear once again doing a tremendous amount of damage. He does get shockwaved here, so things may be a little bit under control. It looks like the turbo cleave of Hype is pretty full health, but then the director gets land in a full trap. He gets out of that trap, but then it's the knock trap to follow up. That was absolutely beautiful. That's what we've come to expect out of Jellybeans in tournament play. Love to see him stepping it up in a big way, representing the hunter. He is definitely the best hunter in this tournament, and he's showing that today. Back to the casters.
All right, thank you, Bajira. Yep, and like we were saying, Jellybeans really needed to prove that, you know, he's definitely the best hunter here. And of course, they are going to lock their choice for comp in because we do have our first map pick from Hype. That is going to be Dalaran Sewers, which, you know, it's a good choice as a turbo cleave.
Yeah, it's a much more defensive map. They're going to be able to hide back and not get dragged across, but it didn't seem like FollowEsports was scared whatsoever. Just staying right on top of them, staying on target, forcing the cooldowns left and right. Like you said, that was just a textbook game of forcing cooldowns and staying on target.
All right, and it looks like we are going to have, with FollowEsports, you know, they really need to work on, I mean, that last game just went so well that, I don't know if there's anything that they could do better with that matchup. And of course, Jellybean just playing flawlessly. And but it, you know, it was a great match. You know, on the Grand Arena, Hype, you can't just knock them down, you know, and say they're going to be out forever and stuff like that, because they did a great job in their first matchup of the day. You know, they were the first team that we saw against Method, and that's a tough team to get beaten by. And of course, FollowEsports is just doing a phenomenal job out of that first game. So the gates are about to open on Dalaran Sewers as we are going to go. And let's take a look at Franklin, the warrior, and see how he can handle the opener.
Yeah, you can see Jellybeans playing very offensive. Seems like Franklin's going to try and punish him for that. They're actually going to go after the director. I wonder if he's expecting this. He's not responding. They got the Murder of Crows. He barkskins way too late. Down at 9%, and this is going to be it. Nature's Swiftness, Rallying Cry comes out. He's desperately trying to stabilize. Down at 13%. He's used every cooldown in his arsenal, and he's barely escaping right now. Down at 40%, trying to recover, desperately trying to survive, and at the same time, Shaza using his Shamanistic Rage very liberally. He does not want to have the director peel back. But this is looking even more incredible for FollowEsports.
Wow, that was an immense amount of damage onto the director, who just had to run in circles. However, with that Sham Rage down and the director having to use a lot of cooldowns to keep himself alive, Shaza might be in trouble here, as he's down to about half, as both Jellybeans and Walter Bear seem to be taking a bunch of damage. But Shaza, again, with a full trap onto director, and Shaza, this is it. Wow, that was a fast matchup for FollowEsports and Hype.
Yeah, definitely. Kind of expected to go like that. I think it's in favor of the jungle cleave in that matchup. Definitely didn't expect to go that fast.
Yeah.
I don't think the director either expected it either. It seemed like FollowEsports had this general strategy. Let's go after the Enhancement Shaman, rotate through the Trinket, rotate through the Iron Bark that reduces damage. Once we've got through that, let's just punch through a win. They said, surprise, we're going after you, the director, and he did not expect it, and I don't think he responded appropriately.
No, and I mean, that was great, though. I got to give it to the director. He lived a lot longer than I thought he was going to in that moment. All right, and we will take a quick chat with Bajira to see what he saw about that amazing hunter play from Jellybeans.
Hey guys, we have seen with the utmost certainty that FollowEsports are not messing around in this tournament. They took a pretty standard approach that first game, but in the second game, they came out guns blazing. Once again, we see the losing team picking Dalaran Sewers, and once again, we see it not quite working out maybe the way that they had hoped it would. So they started off ferociously on the director, and he really never recovered from this, but the fact that he barely survived, was little consolation for the fact that he used nearly everything to do so. So once that very short survival hunter trap cooldown came back up, he was landed right in that trap, and unfortunately, the Shaza, the enhancement shaman, did bite the dust as a result of that very, very clean and absolutely devastating jungle cleave play coming from FollowEsports. So once again, these guys, they're fighting for their spot to BlizzCon. They're not done yet, and it's good to see them absolutely putting on a show, even if they have to claw their way back into contention. We're going to go ahead and throw it back to the casters for their analysis of that game as well.
All right, thanks, Bajira, for that analysis on that game. That was a quick match, though. What did you think that maybe Hype could have done differently in that situation when the healer's being focused from the start?
Yeah, you definitely need to react. As soon as you see that Murder of Crows, which is the Hunter's main cooldown on a 1-minute CD, you want to trade that appropriately. So what a Resto Druid has available is Barkskin on a 1-minute cooldown, Iron Bark on a 1-minute cooldown. What ended up happening is he wanted to save it, and I'm not sure why. Maybe he was much more afraid of the Incarnation swap earlier, but what ended up happening is he tried to be greedy, he tried to hold on to the cooldown, and ended up having to trade everything in return. So Greed not being so good in this case. I would have liked to see just a quick response, trading the Barkskin for the Crows, using nothing else, remaining with that, maybe pop Ascendance if the damage is a little bit too much to handle, and then hold on to the remaining cooldowns, because Nature Swiftness and Iron Bark are something that you need to rely on later in the game.
Yeah, and that's really what led to their defeat. And of course, we do have Bajira that is going to be speaking to FollowEsports right now.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Analyst Station. I'm joined by Team Captain Absturge, who's got to be happy after coming back into the tournament in a pretty mean way. So just before we talk about that match, the match before versus Tempo Storm, those were some absolutely insane matches, and you guys have proven with your gameplay that you guys mean business here, and you deserve to be playing with the best, and I'm really impressed with how well you guys fought back. You guys got knocked down, but you are definitely not done yet. How does it feel to be able to fight your way back into a potential spot at BlizzCon?
I just have an adrenaline rush pretty much right now. The first match was kind of stressful. We had to replay about 3-4 games, so just the fact that we lost that, it was kind of disheartening, but I knew coming into this that we still had a chance. So the fact that we beat this team, even though they played really well, it's just great feeling, to be honest.
Yeah, so that was definitely a tournament experience that you may not have been looking for, the one where things just get delayed and you have to hang in there and keep your attitude positive, and then you ended up not being successful. But like I said, you guys came back firing. You had really long matches in the beginning, and then you had 2 really quick matches, so you got to be feeling pretty good. Another thing that I bet feels pretty good is that you, Jellybeans, Wallabear, you guys, your teammates, you guys are good friends, right? You guys play a lot together on ladder. You've been knowing each other for a while. How good does it feel to be here playing on a big tournament stage with your buddies?
It feels pretty good. I've played with Jake or Vossel for a while, and I play with Wallabear and Jellybeans for a while now too. And we pretty much just queue jungle along the ladder, and that's probably one of my favorite comps to play this season. So it's just great to be here with them.
Awesome. So moving forward, you guys have had absolutely drawn out matches, really quick matches as well. So you got a lot to be proud of. You have a lot of sort of maybe any jitters that you had initially. Hopefully those would be out of your system, but it's definitely understandable if you're a little bit excited about that. But you guys are absolutely kicking butt in this tournament so far. I do wish you the best. We're going to throw it to a quick break, and we'll be back with more Arena very shortly.